Jay, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so on this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
Dave Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flag. There's flag. There's flag. There's flag. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the only football podcast. Tonight, we are going to be grading all of the rookie quarterbacks after week 1 of preseason. Kyle and I are also going to get into some other NFL news. And of course, we're going to end it off with the Chives with Kyle. Let's get it. America is football. Football is
America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass. For the moment in time, I'm giving it. Oh my god! No! You love this.
30 to 27.
No!
Chiefs win. Chiefs win 30 to 20. Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special edition of the Only Football Podcast, a meaningful edition for multiple reasons. First off, Rick has his new house, so this is his first stream from the basement. What are we going to call the basement?
The bear
cave.
den. The bear den.
The den?
The bear's cave?
Den goes with Denver too. So it's like
the bear den? What do you think?
the den.
The den.
The den.
The den.
We'll put a poll up there, but Rick, congrats. This is cool. So he's got his place in time for the season. And we just saw a whole week of preseason. We saw a lot of things, and I'm going to just blast you with some really bold takes right off the bat. And
blast me.
Now this is our third season, so I can say I have somewhat of a track record of not overreacting to everything. Because imagine someone tunes in, this is the first one they see. This is a special case for me. I'm going to say something bold. There's a couple things that I've discovered over the weekend. The first one might be the craziest, and that is that we are witnessing the greatest quarterback class in the history of the NFL. There will never be a quarterback class as good as the one that we are witnessing right before our eyes right now. And whether you're talking about Jaden Daniels, who I was really high on, and I even had him as my favorite quarterback in this year's draft, he looked awesome. Whether it was Caleb Williams, who was advertised to be the next Patrick Mahomes, who looked very similar to Patrick Mahomes. Whether it was Bo Nix, who was the 6th best quarterback people thought, he looked amazing. I mean, over 75 completion percentage. I mean, just dime after dime, touchdown passes, reading the defense. And then JJ McCarthy, who's kind of like, was it Michigan? He looked really good too. So you're going through these quarterbacks and you're like, I could see all of these quarterbacks working. And if that is the case, what even comes close to this type of a quarterback draft class? I know that there was the one with Tua and what was it? Tua, Joe Burrow, then Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert. Okay.
But still, man, I think this class is going to be really, really well. And that's what made preseason so exciting to watch this weekend. And the other thing that I'm going to point out is I don't think we quite understand the gravity of the NFL's new rule change on the kickoff. Because I know for me, as much as we have talked about it on this podcast, even after watching the Hall of Fame game, it just didn't hit me. But after watching a larger sample size of football games, I realized that scoring is going to be way up this year. Like way up. It's not going to be like an average of 3 more points. We're talking 10.
Yeah.
A lot more 50-point games, a lot more 40-point games, because the ball is getting returned a lot of the times to the 45 yard line. So think about, you got a team that goes out there and they throw 2 first down passes and then they stall on third down. Normally you would have to punt, but if you got starting field position at the 45, you're kicking a field goal. There's going to be a lot of field goals where there used to be punts. And I think that's fascinating too. But as a Bears fan, I texted you before the game started and I said, are you nervous? And you said, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. I am nervous, and I can't blame you. You've never had a 4,000-yard passer. You got this guy that's supposed to be the next Patrick Mahomes around the best team, one of the best teams in the NFL, talent-wise. I mean, the pressure couldn't be any higher, and then Caleb Williams comes out and says, I don't feel pressure, and you're almost like, just stop doing that for a second.
Yeah.
Let's just see what you are. Well, we saw what he was. What was your immediate takeaway from what you saw during the game, and were you encouraged moving forward by what you saw?
Dude, immediate reaction. I woke up on Saturday and I'm on the West Coast, so game started at 10. I woke up at like 9:15. I set up my TV. I made sure I was logged into YouTube TV. I made sure I was logged into everything. So I was like prepared to watch Caleb Williams' preseason debut. And the minute he ran out on the field in that number 18 jersey, I was like, oh my God, we got him. We got our guy. He didn't even take a snap yet. He was just on the sidelines. He had his jersey on. He had the Bears helmet on. He was running out to the field. Oh, dude, it was just awesome to see because, again, there's so much hype around him. He was the number 1 overall pick. This draft, the Bears have never, ever had a number 1 overall draft pick since like the 40s or something like that, especially at quarterback. So for him to be trotting out there and for all this hype to be following him, I was like, this is just an awesome moment because I get to experience this, as a Bears fan. Like I get to be alive for this, where a lot of people do not get to be alive for this, right? A lot of Bears fans. So it was awesome. It was awesome to just see that. First and foremost. Then, he took his first snap, handed it off to DeAndre Swift or Khalil Herbert. I forget who it was. And then he started to pass the ball. And it was awesome because one of the first passes was to DJ Moore, and it was a dart. And I'm talking about like,
my God.
It was good at the first down, right?
Dude, that pass, I was like, get the fuck out of here.
It was so good.
It was so good. And I was like, there's no way. But like, all right, 1 or 2 things is happening. These are guys are just extremely special, or they're coming in more pro ready. Because did Caleb Williams even look like a rookie to you?
No, and that was like the beautiful part because on that pass to DJ Moore, he was so calm in the pocket, even though it seemed like there was a lot of pressure already in that pocket. Like it seemed like it was collapsing. And to be honest, like during that pass, like right before that pass, as I saw like a little bit of pressure get to him, he looked calm in the pocket. And that to me, I was like, oh my God, he's not panicking. It's not Justin Fields running for it instead, like rolling out to the other side on a clearly not a play action play, rolling out to the right side or whatever. He seemed calm. He saw his open receiver. He let the play develop, threw a dart to DJ Moore. And it was just, after that pass, I was already hooked. I was like, this was a very good pass. The pocket was collapsing and he still was able to get it down. And then the next couple passes, he had a play action, rolled out to the right, pump faked the linebacker. The linebacker bit a little bit, and then he threw another beautiful pass to Cole Kmet, who caught it near the sideline, completion. Dude, it was like awesome. And And I see this, and I just am like, this is so much better than anything Justin Fields did last season when he was throwing the ball. This is just so much better. He was starting to DJ
I feel you
Moore.
on that.
He was starting to Odunze, Allen, Kmet, DeAndre Swift on a quick little shovel, right? Like that when the line was collapsing on him, and he still had like, I don't know, just a real quick flick of the wrist to dump it off to DeAndre Swift, and he turned it into a 40-yard gain. I was just like, that's what we've needed forever, and we finally have it. Obviously, it was only 2 offensive drives, and both of those offensive drives with Williams led to field goals. Not a touchdown.
Not
He almost – what's that?
There's way worse things than 2 field goals.
Exactly. Like 0 points, honestly. Like, let's be real, right? No points.
Field goals. Like, he didn't take them like into 50-yard field goal territory. He took them into the red zone, if I'm not mistaken.
And he almost had a touchdown pass to Rome. He just gave it a little too much, and it was out in the right corner of the end zone, but a little less on that, and that's a touchdown from Williams to Odunze, and that would have been fucking sweet. But honestly, man, like it was great to see. It felt like the offense when he was passing the ball was just what an NFL offense should be nowadays with a passing quarterback that knows what to do in the pocket and knows when to adjust, because he had to do that quite a bit. He had to adjust. He had to roll out. He had to run. He did run. He slid on one play to get a first down. So like all that was just like, again, seeing that in my eyes, all I could think was, this is how an NFL offense has to operate, and he's doing that already as a rookie, and it was amazing to see.
Yeah, I thought watching the game, I've been saying this for a while, but there's something that happens when you're watching a game where you just know the guy's got it or he doesn't got it. It's like that. There's a quote in Fever Pitch with Jimmy Fallon and what's her name?
Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore. Thank you. And he's like, you know why I love baseball is because there's nothing mysterious about it. Like you can either hit a curveball or you can't. And it's safe. That's the word he uses. Yep. It's safe. It's not like how life is so unpredictable. Well, like there are certain people that will say, oh, he's playing against second stringers, or, oh, maybe it was the first stringers, but maybe they only played one of his 3 series, whatever the case is. People will try to pour cold water on what you're saying. And it's like, really, is the second stringers the reason that he made the throw that he made? Because he's going to need to make those exact type of throws when it is the first string quarterbacks. But you know what? He proved that he can make that throw. That's the whole point. It's not about the competition. It's about Caleb Williams and the talent that he displayed. And I think if you're a Bears fan, you're really excited about this. I mean, you still want to manage, the hype train. It's 2 drives, But for somebody like me, I got a much bigger sample size than my quarterback. It's different. Like we saw Drake May on the field for 1 series, and then New England booed as Bailey Zappi went in the game. Not because they don't like Zappi, because they were like, why isn't Drake May playing?
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it? I feel like that he should have gotten much more reps, unless he's going to play like the second and third game completely. I don't know. That was just weird.
I mean, it's like if the preseason isn't made for somebody like Drake May, I don't know who it's made for, because Drake May should be out there getting all the reps that he can. But the Bears go on and win in dominant fashion. And do you think preseason wins matter going into the regular season, just the vibes? Or do you think, no, like the 49ers and the Rams typically go 0-3 and then, go to the Super Bowl? Like, where do you stand with preseason?
I really don't think it matters. I really don't. The thing for preseason in my mind is, what can these second and third stringers do? How are we going to shape the rest of the roster? Who deserves a spot on the depth chart at defensive end? Who deserves to be the I don't know, the backup nickelback or something like that, right? Like, who deserves to be in these spots? Who's showing the most? Like, can we get a spark out of these guys? That really is, to me, what the preseason is for. The Bears, I think, one year went 0-3, and then they went to the Super Bowl that year, back in like 2006, right? Like, the Ravens have continued, like, they had a streak of preseason wins, like 30 plus or something like that, and no Super Bowls. You know what I mean? Unless it dates back to like 2012 when they won it. But you know what I mean? Like, none of this really matters. It is just, you know, Roger Goodell said, I think we can get rid of a preseason game when he was talking about an 18-game season, a 19-week, 18-game season. He's like, I don't think the preseason matters. And it's true, because that's kind of how I think about it. Like, it doesn't matter, but it gets you really, really hyped for the year, because you get to see all these guys like Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix, Rome Odunze, MHJ. Like, you get to see all these guys, even on the defensive side, all these guys finally play against NFLers. And it's awesome to see the guy that your team drafted in an NFL game for the first time. It's just great. And I do want to answer this question real quick. I forget, do preseason games count to the 5-win total? They do, Bill. They do. And this is why I want to explain this, because Kyle's like, no, they don't. It's because Kyle said something a while ago during, I think this was like during the draft or something, or even before that. He was like, Rick isn't going to wear anything Bears until the Bears make him proud. And I had said 5 games, like they had a win, but I also took what Kyle said into consideration, like until the Bears make him proud. And through the draft, through what they've done so far, development wise, like, you know, not playing Caleb Williams in the Hall of Fame game, you know, re-signing DJ Moore, extending him, getting Keenan Allen, doing all these things. It's starting, like, I need to wear Bears gear. And that's when I decided, I was like, you know what? Preseason games count. We got 3 more wins to go, because this team is really making me happy and proud to be a Bears fan now. Like, I feel an excitement, and it's fall weather. I need to be wearing those Bears hoodies. I really do. I really do.
I was just thinking, like, to be totally honest, like the moment Caleb Williams was drafted to the Bears, the Bears franchise was no longer a joke. Like, and when you say make me proud, like, yeah, I mean, there's 32 teams. Caleb Williams is one of these really crazy, highly recruited guys, and he's on your team. So, like, the day that he was drafted, you could wear your Bears hat out and have some pride. You know, no one's going to laugh at you. They're going to be like, oh, Caleb Williams, what do you think? You know, there's no more exactly. Like, so, I mean, maybe the Bears gear could have came on right after the first round selection, but I get you had to punish them a little bit. Like,
I did. I had to. I was just like, because I was at the end of that season last year, I was so fucking sick of it. I was so sick of it. And Bill saying 5 games, you better not wuss out on us. 5. No, I won't. 3 more games. They got to win 3 more games. I think they have 1 more or 2 more preseason games, and then into the regular season. But I got the flag, even though Bill said that flag is disgusting. I won't. I'll let that one slide, Bill.
From the upper ropes, just like, welcome back.
But yeah, no, 100%. Like, Caleb Williams entered the building. Rome Odunze entered the building. When Ryan Poles entered the building, it seemed different. And look, I'll be honest, I say that about every GM and new coach or whatever, but Ryan Poles came in and did what, I'm going to make a baseball reference here, what Theo Epstein did with the Cubs back in 2010, 2012, whatever it was. He came in, he saw that the way that it was working before him was not working. They were getting nowhere. So you know what he did? He got rid of Khalil Mack, who is still very much a problem in the NFL. He got rid of a lot of veteran guys on defense. He got rid of some guys on the offense. And he said, I'm going to build this from the ground up. I'm going to make acquisitions. I'm going to trade away players for picks. I'm going to build through the draft. And I have a very clear vision as to what my team is going to look like. And look, he's done it because this is the product we're getting now. We get hype about the Bears. We get a number 1 overall quarterback and just a much better environment and culture. So that's my rant on the Bears. I know I went a little too long on that, but
Never. Well, I mean, this is, good reason. We are both entering a new era. Some eras last longer than others. When Bo Nix was drafted to the Broncos, we were live streaming the draft, and I was not excited at the moment of the pick. If you remember, I was like, all right. I didn't know we had to draft him at 6. I thought we could get him in the second round.
Yeah.
The next day, I was like, I'm an idiot. I listened to Sean, and he went on for an hour about Bo Nix, and I was just like, if Sean likes him that much, then who am I to not like him? This was really his guy. Now that we've been able to watch interviews from March and before the draft and see the way he was talking to Bo Nix, and a lot of the insiders were pairing these two together, and they were like, yeah, everything Sean wants is what Bo is, but there's still this amount of uncertainty when there's 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round, and yours is the last one. Cheers. You get the last pick out of all the. That's how it felt. Let's be honest. It felt like Bo Nix was all that was left at the pick 12. So
yeah, and like you said, you were not excited, and I was like, damn, I feel like they could have gotten him second round, but also I was like, the prospect of him being a really good quarterback is still exciting. And we were talking about that as we were going through the pick too. But yeah, I just wanted to say that because it really wasn't a super exciting time for Denver Broncos fans, I think, in general. But as we kind of talked about it more, you're like, you know what? This is his guy, and I think it'll work out. So,
right. And it's like, people are like, well, there's been the quarterback carousel that has been on. Russell Wilson didn't put an end to it. And it's been going on for a decade. We can actually say a decade since Peyton Manning won Super Bowl 50. That's a very long time to be searching for something. While John Elway's your GM, who just came out and said his biggest mistake was not drafting Josh Allen.
Yep.
But you would think somewhere along the line you'd stumble into one at least. Like, we accidentally found Brock Purdy. Never happened. And it's like Sean comes in. Russell Wilson goes from the Broncos were 16.9 points per game, last in the NFL in 2021 or 2022. In 2023, he gets them to about mediocre. But for some reason, for Bronco fans, we didn't look at that and go, all right, we have full faith in Sean Payton because we still didn't make the playoffs. There was still a lot to be desired by that season and by Russ. So we got to kind of throw all that away and say Sean Payton has never drafted a quarterback in the first round. He's just never done it. Yeah. He is such a good evaluator of talent. He's one of the best quarterback minds in the game. He's an ex-quarterback. I don't know why we doubted the pick to begin with, but like you said, we all kind of came along with it. And the things that Sean said about Bo Nix and the press conferences to follow that draft pick didn't make sense to Broncos country. Like, one of the things he said was watching Bo Nix was like watching a great golfer. We're like, what does that mean? Like, what is he talking about?
Is he just saying this?
Like, we don't want a golfer. Like,
we don't. Yeah.
And he goes on and he's like, he's just so relaxing to watch. And I'm like, okay. Well, after watching this game, I understand so much. I have context now for everything that Sean has been seeing. The game was against the Colts. It was in Indianapolis. The announcers were homers. They weren't even hiding it. They were like, at the end of the game, the Broncos they converted a third down to end the game. And he was like, I think we stopped them. They were saying like, we, us.
Yeah, we got them.
What is this? This is such preseason bullshit. This would never fly in the regular season. But it was funny. So you were watching this game, and Jarrett Stidham gets the first start. He goes out for 2 drives. They go pretty well. And then it happens. Bo Nix runs out onto the field wearing number 10. And I could feel the pressure from my end. Now, have you ever been watching an NBA game where a player gets fouled and there's, they're down 2 and there's 1 second left. They need to make both free throws. And you're sitting on the other end of the TV and you start feeling the pressure for that player.
Oh, yeah.
That player just drains it and drains it. And you're like, oh my, he's clearly not feeling what I'm feeling. So how
the fuck?
he goes out on the field. The first 2 plays didn't look good. The first play, there was some pressure that got into his face. He gets rid of the ball while getting hit, could have been picked. The second play, I think, was just a run that went for like 1 yard. So all of a sudden, it's 3rd and 10 in Bo's first 45 seconds. And he drops back. He steps up into the pocket, and he slings one to Cortland Sutton on the sideline like a very fast bullet, tight window type NFL quarterback throw. And I was like, okay, what was that? All right, let's wait.
Kyle got fucking hyped, though.
Oh, dude, I was going absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And he goes out there, and he has command over the offense, complete command. He's down in the huddle. He's calling the plays. He does not look anything like a rookie. And I've heard them say it all season. If you had to take one quarterback with the best roster in the NFL to win the Super Bowl this year, a lot of people say it's Bo Nix because he is the most experienced out of this whole group. Now, if you wanted a long-term investment, now you can talk about Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. But if it's just like who's the most pro-ready, a lot of people felt that it was Nix coming from 2 offensive systems in college. And it's one thing to hear it, but when you watch him play, it all of a sudden, like, it made sense. A lot of times things are scouted as strengths, but you don't see it on Sunday. It was just scouted that way, but it didn't translate to the NFL. Bo Nix's game was exactly as he was advertised to be. He was getting the ball out of his hands insanely quick. His touchdown pass, I don't know if you saw, it was a quick snap, and he threw that ball. I mean, that ball got out of his hands before I even knew they were passing it. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, touchdown. What was that?
That was quick.
It was very quick. He hit Reynolds on a 40-yard deep ball. It literally went right through his hands. Bo Nix would have had another touchdown pass. The only drive that Bo Nix didn't score on, he had 5 drives. The only one that didn't result in points, he threw the ball to Kroll, our tight end, and he fumbled the football. It was a 1-play drive.
Oh, God.
And that has nothing to do with Bo Nix. Denver gets an interception right after that, and Sean Payton drives down, kicks a field goal, and then the Colts have, I guess, a minute left. They're going down the field, and then Sean calls his timeouts because he's like, you know what? I want to give Bo Nix an opportunity here to drive down the field with a minute 50 seconds left with 2 timeouts. This is a real-life scenario. Yeah. And he drove down the whole field and scored. And then Denver receives the kick and to begin the third quarter, and Bo Nix drives down, scores another touchdown, and Sean pulls him out of the game. And it was like, okay. I mean, he went 15 for 21, 121 yards, 1 touchdown pass, should have been 2. He's the running part of his game. I didn't realize it was going to be such a factor. I mean, they were calling designed runs. He had 17 yards on 3 rushes. But the bottom line is that he was not relying on one guy. Like, he spread the ball around to everybody. And it's like, there's so many quarterbacks that have the talent, but they can't see the field. Zach Wilson can't see the field. This is what I love the most about Bo Nix, is that he could see the whole field and he could make quick decisions, very fast processor. And he went to the right place with the ball. Not most of the time, every single pass was where it needed to be. And I guess it would take a Broncos fan to be able to appreciate this, because it's been so long since we've seen a quarterback take the field like that. And I don't think anyone was expecting this. Not like even diehard Bronco fans. Like, we believed, but we still needed to see. Like,
yeah, that's true.
You know, we still needed to be like, all right, I'm with you, but you're going to have to show me something. And he showed us way more than we were like even thinking of. I think Bo Nix, out of every player in the preseason, I think Bo Nix won week 1 of the preseason. I think there's a true quarterback competition going on in Denver. I think Bo Nix just ended it that fast. I mean, Adam Schefter even posted about how good Nix was in that game. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I do believe that Denver has a chance to go to the playoffs if Bo Nix is going to play like that. Moving forward, I mean, I need to see more, but seeing the field and all the things that he did, that's not a fluke. That's not luck. That's not because they're second stringers. Like, yes, it's going to be harder. The pressure is going to be more severe. The coverage is going to be tighter. I'm not saying there's not going to be a learning curve here, but now that we're seeing where Bo Nix's starting point is, I think it's much further down the road than we thought we were going to be starting at.
And Kyle, I've just got one thing to say to you. Bo Nix, more like Bo 6, baby. Bo 6.
I love it.
That's what we're calling him. We're going Bo 6. Dude, he had a hell of a preseason game. I did want to ask you though, because first let me talk and give Bo Nix his flowers because he looked good. You're right. That touchdown to Mims, like fake handoff, immediately arm up, bam. Right before the defender got there too, like he was able to thread the needle to Mims's hands. Mims got in the end zone, and it was just a strike. I mean, that thing was quick. That is something that you see from a 5-year NFL veteran.
Aaron Rodgers makes that throw.
An Aaron Rodgers, a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes. Like, this is the stuff you see from these guys who have been veterans in the game. Bo Nix did that in his first preseason game, his first snaps against true NFL players. And he was playing with, some of the starters too, I believe, right? If I'm not mistaken. Okay, so he was.
John wanted him to get used to Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick and, the real wide receivers.
Yeah, so you see, like, he looked really good. And again, a 15 for 21, 125 yards and a touchdown for the quarter and a half that he played. Those are good stats right there.
Yeah,
those are some good stats.
The game too, it was even better than the stats like indicate. It truly was. Every time really good. He took the field, he took Denver down it. I mean, to me, that's what I liked about Caleb Williams too. Every time he came out on the field, they didn't punt the football. Bo Nix, the whole entire time. I mean, he didn't play 1-2 series. He played 5 series, and Denver not once sent a punter onto the field. It was a field goal kicker or it was a touchdown. And that to me says a ton. That speaks volumes about the kind of season we're going to have. When you average 21 points per game last season altogether, and Bo Nix scores 20 in 4 drives in 1 quarter.
Yeah.
You're 1 quarter and 1 series in the third quarter. It's like, man, I really love what I'm seeing. But I think a huge part of this too is when Sean was supposed to fix Russ, they asked him how he was going to do it. And he said, well, it's like a karaoke song. Like, you're not going to do good in your karaoke song if you don't know the words. So we're going to play the music that he knows how to sing. So that was his thing with Russ. Like, no, we're not going to throw it a bunch. That's not what Russ does. Well, Bo Nix and Sean did the same thing, dude. They were running Oregon's offense. They were running RPO. This was like,
what was the wide receiver there too? The one you guys drafted from Oregon? Yeah.
He didn't. I didn't see him make a single catch. I don't even think he played. I don't know why, but
yeah, I just wanted to know.
Yeah, but it was exactly like the exact offense that Oregon ran. So Sean is like, all right, if this is what he does well, this is what we're going to do. And actually, as a play caller, you love that because you're actually going to be able to design plays where, okay, you just got to trust my design. I need you to be able to read the defenses really quick. And if this, then this. That's it. That's what Kyle Shanahan does. Sean Payton finally, I mean, Russ was holding onto the ball too long, running around, trying to play backyard football, throwing the moon ball. Sean is like, I'm a play caller. Just do what I'm telling you to do. The play will be there if you trust it, like Brock Purdy does.
Yeah.
That's why Trey Lance didn't work out and Brock Purdy did. So yeah, I mean, the hype is real right now for Bronco fans. I mean, it's been a very, very long time since we've had a quarterback come out and have this kind of a debut. And like I said, there's a lot of quarterbacks that were drafted higher than Bo Nix, and that's kind of why we were like, well, maybe we're not right. What's our proof? Sean Payton? Well, maybe we're biased to Sean Payton because we're Bronco fans. There's this little tiny bit of doubt, and that is completely gone. I think full faith in Sean Payton. I never lost it, but if there was any of it lost, it's fully restored. And I think Bo Nix is going to be a candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year this year.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. The confidence level is high because you see what he does in this preseason game. And I mean, again, this is what we need to see from our first rounders is what can they do against NFL players, right? And I want to get to a couple of these comments real quick before we move on, because I do have a question about the Broncos for you, Kyle. Bill said, wait, did we all win our first preseason games? The Bears won, the Broncos won. Did the Giants win? If the Giants won, then I think we all won. I guess
so. Here. I don't think you would ask the question if they did.
Yeah. And cheers. I love that.
We all won.
Cheers, baby. And I want to get to Nate here because this is the type of NFL fan I fucking love. He's going Niners going undefeated. Daniel Jones is better than Dak Prescott. Niners going back to the Super Bowl. Not even winning. They're going back. They're not going to win it. They're going back. This is the type of trolling I love. And Niner fan here. Yeah, Nate, I think we got that. I think we got that.
I figured as much, but yeah, must be nice to be a Niners fan.
It must be. I mean, the Niners too, man. They went after Harbaugh. They went through a time where they sucked. So we're all going through our phases here, but I did want to get to the question, Kyle. You mentioned Jarrett Stidham started. Is there any, I don't know, is there, I don't want to say worry because I feel like that's too heavy of a word, but like you said, there's a true quarterback competition happening. So is that part of the competition where Sean Payton is going to put in Stidham first couple drives, because normally you're putting your starter in there, right? Like who you expect to start. So what is that? Does that mean anything? Is it just the quarterback competition?
It does. I mean, there's two answers to it. The first thing is that because Bo Nix was drafted at 6, even if there is a tie, Bo's going to get the nod. Mm-hmm. The second part is if Bo didn't play lights out, I'm sure this would be a lot more tricky to balance. But on the other side, when I gave quarterback grades on Jarrett Stidham, Zach Wilson, and Bo Nix was graded the highest, but Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham played really good games. Mm-hmm. So I do think Denver, their quarterback room right now, in a weird way, is one of the best in the league because Zach
Wilson did well.
Yeah, Zach Wilson did well, and he's our QB3 right now. I mean, name a better QB3 than Zach Wilson. I know he's not a starter, but think about that.
Who was your brother's quarterback in high school?
Nathan Peterman.
So, I'm taking him.
No, you're not. You know you're not taking it. But I mean, Jarrett Stidham, I think, is going to have in just a remarkable end of the preseason for Bo Nix to not get the nod. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're Sean, after what you saw, I mean, he's going to let the process play out, but I think you just name him the starter now so he can get all the reps he can with the first team players. I think that's really important if he's going to be the guy. I think Sean's going to have a lot of answers because here's what's kind of scary is if Bo Nix doesn't do as good in the second game against the Packers, then all of a sudden it kind of like, oh, okay, maybe the Colts were really bad. You know, you start having doubts, but I mean, I still think that there's a competition going on because if there weren't, Sean would say that Bo Nix is the starting quarterback, and he hasn't done that yet. But I think Bo Nix is one more game away from that being a certified thing. And for not just Bronco fans, but even ex-player, I can sum this all up by what Derek Wolfe said on Twitter after Sunday, or X. He said, I'm excited again. let's see what this kid can do as a starter. For the first time in
Yeah.
8 years, I think we finally have a QB1 that can compete in the AFC West. If that's how this kid's making you feel, there's no way in hell you send Zach Wilson out there,
That's
because
true.
optimism fills seats, and it's what every franchise really needs. And Bo Nix is making Bronco fans optimistic again. And I mean, it's a tough schedule, but the AFC West is tough anyway. It's always going to be tough. We have to get better. And I think Bo Nix is going to continue to impress people this season.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree. Like, because it's tough for Stidham right now. He had two drives, right? Like he had 2 drives. Like he can't really do much. And then the hype around Bo Nix after what he did for a quarter plus. I mean, like you said, if Bo 6 goes out the next preseason game and he has similar, if not better numbers, your hands are tied at that point. Like you have to go with Bo Nix starting. You've got the Bears going to be starting Caleb Williams. You got the Commanders about to start Jaden Daniels. Penix is obviously behind Cousins. Drake May, we don't know yet. We think it's Jacoby Brissett. Who knows if he impresses similar to Bo Nix. And then JJ McCarthy maybe starting behind Sam Darnold, maybe going to be starting depending on so I feel like all these first round quarterbacks are starting to impress. And if Bo Nix continues to impress these next 2 games, like I said, like your hands are tied. If you're Sean Payton, you're like, I got to go with the guy that's one, putting asses in seats at Mile High, and 2, getting the hype to the fans at Mile High. Like I think you got to go with that. But Sean Payton is a smart guy. He's won a Super Bowl. He had Drew Brees. He had plenty of seasons where he was a winner and will continue to do so, I think, in Denver. So I don't think this guy is going to stick to what he believes is the right move to go with, and that's what he's going to do, whether that is Bo Nix or whether that is Jarrett Stidham. Again, Zach Wilson, I don't think so, because even Bill thinks that Tommy DeVito is better than Zach Wilson right now. So, but yeah, man, I like it. I just wanted to know kind of your take on what that Jarrett Stidham start, what that was like, I guess, or what you felt about it.
Yeah. And I thought that he went out there and he did about, if I could sum it up, it would be like exactly as good as I thought he would. Right. Like, he didn't disappoint, but he also wasn't better than I expected. Like he was very similar to what I saw at the end of last season. He's a very serviceable backup quarterback. I'm not sure if I mean, you could see the contrast when Nix entered the game and it was like, well, what's that? We didn't see that with the other guys. And from people that have actually been around the building, they say, weirdly enough, Bo Nix hasn't been looking so much better than these other quarterbacks throughout all of training camp. So there was this feeling that Bo Nix just happened to play his best game in this game. Like it wasn't like this all offseason. So I find that a little bit fascinating. I don't know if Bo Nix is just a guy that's ready when the lights come on, or if there was just a little bit of a moment where it all clicked at the right time. But we're definitely hoping that we can build off of this. And if Denver has a similar game against the Packers next season, their win total is going to go up from 5.5. I guarantee it.
Oh, love it. Love that. Nate's asking, what's better, NFL, LFL, XFL, CFL? NFL, baby.
NFL. I don't even know what those other ones are.
LFL, what is that? The London Football League? I don't like that. Bill saying as long as you keep Nix healthy, he's agreeing with that. So
yeah,
but yeah, and that goes for other quarterbacks, right? Because it's going to be tough, obviously, for your quarterback to not do well if he's fucking getting sacked all the time. And that was, I feel like, again, that was kind of what happens to your Justin Fields, your Mitch Trubisky's, and I'm just naming Bears quarterbacks because that's kind of what I've experienced. Your RG3s, right? Like when you get those really bad injuries, it's like, well, there goes all that hope. So much for that.
Well, another quarterback that took center field on Sunday was somebody that was drafted even higher than Bo Nix, but we didn't know how to feel about it. And his name is JJ McCarthy.
Ooh.
And JJ McCarthy comes out. Oh, sorry. JJ McCarthy comes out, the number 10 overall pick in the draft, and they win the football game. He completed 11 of 17 passes for 188 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. I guess what surprised me the most about him was the way he moved around in the pocket. He seemed a little more like fluid than I thought he would be.
Yeah.
This was a common theme with all these rookie quarterbacks, that they just looked like the moment wasn't too big for him. They came in, they did what they were asked to do. They made good throws. They scored touchdowns. I'm not used to seeing this with every quarterback, but this is the theme of week 1. So Sam Darnold did get the start, but McCarthy, he got some time with the first teamers. It wasn't like it was all second stringers when McCarthy came in. So now the results are in, and it's fascinating to see, okay, well, what's going to happen? Is McCarthy going to end up taking that number 1 spot over Sam Darnold? Because Sam Darnold, whether you love him or you don't, you could make a case that, I mean, he's the best backup in the NFL. You can make a real case for that. Like, he is a very, very solid backup, and I could see him getting the starting job. But McCarthy brought a lot of excitement to the Vikings, big playability. Now, I will say a couple of the touchdowns were like wide open, but he still made the throw, and that counts in your first game.
Oh, yeah.
So I liked what I saw from McCarthy. They're going to be hosting the Browns week 2. And if JJ goes out there and he has a similar game, the one thing about the Vikings, as much as I've been shitting on them all offseason, you can make a case that they're ready right now. Like, they have a good defense. They have a good defensive coordinator. They have, Justin Jefferson. They bring in Aaron Jones. Like, this is a team that if they happen to stumble into a top 15 quarterback, then all of a sudden the expectations are like, hey, why aren't we a Super Bowl contender? What are we missing? Nothing.
Yep.
Just the quarterback. Well, if JJ McCarthy is that guy, then the expectations go all the way back to the moon for the Vikings, and we'll see what happens. But for this first game, JJ McCarthy played so much better than I expected. He showed plenty of arm talent as well. I not sure if he's going to be the starter yet, but I'm leaning 75% that he's going to get the nod week 1.
Oh, okay. So okay. I like that. Oh man, this is like the case of first round quarterbacks, because unless you're Michael Penix Jr., you've got a really good shot at being the starter as a rookie. Like, unless you're Penix, who you've got Kirk Cousins ahead of you, who they just paid millions of dollars to, you've got a pretty solid chance. And I think the same goes. I think I'm going to agree with you. And honestly, I might even go like 90% that he's going to be the starter for JJ McCarthy. Yeah. I just don't know exactly, because Kevin O'Connell has been not dealing, but he had Kirk Cousins for his first couple of years. So he had a solid quarterback there. He had a star wide receiver in Justin Jefferson. He had Dalvin Cook at running back. So his offense was more or less pretty fucking set when he stepped foot in there as a coach. So I don't know how he feels about rookie quarterbacks, because you still have Sam Darnold there, who was a first round quarterback, has plenty of starts, is a veteran, and can pretty much go into this season and you know what you're going to get from Sam Darnold. Like you said, he's probably one of the best backups in the NFL right now. If we really were to round them all up, Sam Darnold's up there, right? So I just don't know which way Kevin O'Connell wants to go. You know, if you're a Vikings fan, I feel like you want JJ to go out there and pass to JJ. You want that JJ to JJ connection, right? Like, you want those touchdowns. You want Jordan Addison to get touchdowns. You want Hawkinson. You want Aaron Jones to touch the ball. Like, you want all this stuff because you spent a first round pick on this quarterback. This is the guy you want to start. Honestly, me kind of just seeing that first game, if he continues to do so, just like Bo Nix, I think it's a certainty that he's going to be the starter, week 1. And even Bill saying if JJ turns out to be good, I'll never hear the end of it about passing on him and sticking with DJ. No, you're still not going to hear the end of that, no matter what, Bill.
True. Very
but,
true.
But yeah, I think all signs are pointing to him starting. Like unless they're in training camp, like in between preseason games, Sam Darnold is showing something that JJ McCarthy isn't. Guys, I really believe like it's going to be JJ McCarthy. So yeah, Kyle's going 75% JJ. I'm going 90%. I'm going to go 90% with JJ. The younger guy, we talked about like how Michigan was a big factor, how Harbaugh's word to these NFL scouts to these NFL teams was huge for them, right? And whether or not he was kind of putting up a smoke screen so people would take him, knowing that he wasn't necessarily NFL ready, probably not a thing. I don't think Harbaugh is going to go ahead and do that to his own like national championship winning quarterback there at Michigan. So I think what Harbaugh said to those teams during or prior to the draft was legit how he felt about JJ McCarthy. So again, Kyle, you're going 75%. I think I'm going 90% here.
Yeah, I because I mean they draft him so high. It's one thing to draft Jordan Love at the end of the first round when you have Aaron Rodgers. It's another thing to draft your quarterback in the top 10 when you don't have Aaron Rodgers. So
yeah,
I can see where you're going, and you got to give Kevin O'Connell, like you look at a lot of the quarterbacks that overachieved, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy. I wouldn't say Caleb Williams overachieved. I would say he performed what we thought he was. He was who we thought he was.
He was who we thought we were.
We'll have to, keep watching. It was just 2 series, but he looked the part. But the guys that overachieved, offensive coaches, Kevin O'Connell, Sean Payton, it does matter where these guys get drafted to. So I think for JJ McCarthy, him being with such a quarterback-friendly head coach and Kevin O'Connell, it's only going to help him be ready faster than I think it would typically take if Rex Ryan drafted him or Brian Flores or somebody like that, who is the defensive coordinator. But you know what I'm saying? So the Vikings, they have optimism too. This is so weird because there's normally like 2 teams that are optimistic and 2 that are disappointed. We're just going to be optimistic all the way through and through. And that includes the guy that I thought was the best quarterback in this year's draft. And I took a lot of heat for it, but I stood by it. I thought Jaden Daniels was, and he looked awesome. He looked awesome in his first game. And actually, it was funny. His first NFL completion was down the right side on the sideline, and it was over like this. It was a perfect place ball. I think it was a 42-yard reception. Yep. And that was the exact same play his first college completion was. It was down the right side, same coverage, same ball, same yardage, 42 yards. It was exactly the same. So I don't know what that means besides that it's really cool. But Jaden Daniels went out there, and we have been hearing throughout all of camp that Jaden Daniels is looking really good in practice. But when he went out there on the field, it was amazing, dude. He went out there, he made big throws. He ends up finishing the drive off by running in for a touchdown himself, handing the football to his mom. It just gave me like CJ Stroud vibes. Like somebody that's going to come in and just be that guy right away. Like, he's a winner and he's going to continue to win. And I think for the Commanders, they got to be really excited because they've had, in the last 8 years, they've started a different quarterback every week 1. Every week 1, 8 years in a row.
Holy shit.
They had a different quarterback. And now Jaden Daniels comes in and scores touchdowns, has a very promising debut. They pull him out of the game. 42-yard bomb, marches down the field. Like I said, walks in the end zone, hands the football to his mom. And they're like, we've seen enough. Come on. And I thought it was very kind of similar with Caleb Williams, where it's like, we just wanted to make sure. Come on, you're out.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We knew, but we just wanted to see. Okay, you're done for
Yeah.
the day. So it's exciting to see. Okay, well, what will the Commanders look like when Jaden Daniels plays 4 quarters? What will the Bears look like with 4 quarters? Because I thought Jaden Daniels looked like I can still stand by my statement and no one's laughing at me. He looked that good.
Yeah. And that was the first pass that he made was awesome because like you said, it was over and the cornerback was on the receiver. Like he put the perfect touch on that pass for that 42-yard gain. And it was right over the cornerback into the arms of the wide receiver. The fact that it was the same first play of his college career or the yardage and all that is like uncanny. It's
Right.
ridiculous, right? Like how some shit like that happens. It's crazy. And yeah, you did catch a lot of heat for saying Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback, mostly from me, because I believe in Caleb Williams. But no, man, like a lot of people were saying the same thing about Jaden Daniels. Like this guy's good. He can move on his feet. He's very much like Lamar Jackson. And I do believe he actually made some plays with his feet as well. I'm trying to see here.
Skinny. Like when you're watching him play, like he does. You would like when CJ Stroud takes field, you're not like he's skinny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is like a little bit where you're like, does he need to bulk up a little bit? I don't know. I'm just saying, like, just the eyeball test. I was like, I hope he doesn't get hurt if he takes a couple hits because that could be. It's the NFL. Everyone deals with injuries, and if you're already starting from a skinny standpoint, I don't know if that helps you in any way.
Yeah, and you're kind of hoping that he like nothing happens to him similar to Devontae Smith on the Eagles because he came into the league and everybody was like he's so skinny, and here he is, right, going to the Super Bowl his first year, pairing up with AJ Brown and becoming that like wide receiver duo threat, right? So you're hoping that he has a similar career. You hope he does bulk up. I think in my opinion, like he's still got plenty of time to bulk up, get stronger, and make sure he beefs up so he doesn't get hurt, or at least so that injuries become less of a probability with him. But he did run the ball too. And also real quick, actually that 42-yard play, there was a quote by one of his linemen. He said here, his offensive lineman, Sam Cosme, he made a check mid-play. It turned out to be a big gain. So that wasn't even the play that Jaden Daniels was supposed to make. He made a check in the middle of that play. Yeah. Before the snap or whatever. And he turned it into a 42-yard gain. So that is even more impressive. Similar to like how I was talking about Caleb Williams doing that stuff, like, pointing people out, talking to his linemen, talking to his receivers and doing things like that. To me, I'm like, that's even more impressive than the throw, than the awareness. Like that lets you know that this guy is in the game, like fully immersed in the game, knows what the defense is doing, knows what he can do, knows what his audibles are. So that was cool. But he also kept the ball for a rushing touchdown too, fake handoff, and he just ran over to the right side of the field for a touchdown. So Jaden Daniels, very, very impressive start as well. It looks like all these guys, man, all these guys are just doing extremely well.
Yeah, and I think those were the ones that, I mean, if I told you 5 of the 6 are going to be good, those are the 5 you probably name. But the reality was 6 out of 6 played good. And the 6th probably is the most surprising to me, at least. And it was Michael Penix going out there and looking pretty good. I mean, he looked real solid. I mean, 9 for 16 doesn't jump off the stat sheet, but 104 passing yards, and he looked really comfortable to me watching the game. Like he didn't seem like a rookie quarterback, and I just don't know why this is going on with every quarterback. It's really weird, especially to be on this end telling you guys, because it's like I feel like as a viewer, you hear this and you're like, do they really even know what they're looking for? Because they're just saying every quarterback did well.
No, of course not.
It's like I totally get that it would almost be beneficial for us to say that at least one quarterback didn't do well, but It's not true. Michael
Yeah.
Penix went out there and he looked like he could take over as the starting quarterback for the Falcons when Kirk Cousins hangs up the cleats. And
Mhm.
he's going to be in a different situation than the others because Caleb Williams, Bo Nix,
Mhm.
JJ McCarthy, as you said, 90%.
Mhm.
These guys are going to have to start week one.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, week one
Yeah.
starters.
Mhm.
But Drake May, who he's the one person that I didn't think looked promising. He only had one drive that we didn't see anything.
Exactly.
So he's like still a mystery. But then
Mhm.
Michael Penix, he looked really good. But unlike those other four, he's not going to start week one. So
Mhm.
he's going to have time to kind of grow. And this is kind of, I think, especially after what Jordan Love did at the end of last season, I think Atlanta was sitting there like, we could do the exact same thing. They drafted Jordan Love when Rodgers had 2 years left. We think we'll have Kirk Cousins for about 2 years, and we
Mhm.
love the upside of Michael Penix Jr. Let's just do what the Packers just proved works. And by the way, they
Yeah.
proved it 3 times now,
Yeah.
or 2 times now. So
Stop
why don't we
reminding me.
just instead of doing like the Broncos and getting Manning for 4 years and having no plan after,
Mhm. Mhm.
why don't we just make this draft pick now and we'll have the Jordan Love of the future in a couple years? And
Mhm.
it's starting to make a lot more sense because when it first happened, it was like Atlanta's the first quarterback to pay a quarterback over $100 million and then draft one in the same
First
year.
round. First round
And
too.
now you're looking at Michael Penix and you're like, maybe.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it was the same thing that they said about the Packers. They just came off an NFC loss,
Yep.
NFC championship loss. And they're like, why don't they give Aaron Rodgers a wide receiver to take him over the top?
Mhm.
And people would say the same about the Falcons when they drafted Michael Penix. You got a pretty good team. Why not try to get Kirk Cousins another weapon to win a Super Bowl? But they go this other route that very few teams go down where you're drafting for the future. You're not drafting for just this year.
Mhm.
And not every GM has the foresight to make these kind of moves. But I thought Michael Penix looked a lot better than I was expecting him to be. Totally honest, Michael Penix was one of the quarterbacks in the first round that I was like, I don't know. I don't think he's going to work out. I watched the national championship game.
Mhm.
I thought he looked pretty bad in that game. And
Mhm.
I just went with my gut, and my gut seems to be kind of wrong here.
Yeah, and that's fair because a lot of people were saying the same thing, like, oh, there's a reason he's 24, 25 years old and has been in college for so long, right? There's a reason why Bo Nix, kind of the same thing, right? And both of these guys came out in their first preseason game and looked good. Michael Penix Jr., man, that touch on his first pass, that connection downfield, what was it? I forget who it was, but it was to the right side of the field. Like, that was a beautiful touch to the football, and he's known for that all throughout his college career. He is known to put a great touch on the ball, know exactly, like Russell Wilson type, Russell Wilson early mid career, right? In the breadbasket. That's where he puts it. And that's what he did in this game. So in that national championship game, though, he was hurt. I know like he kept taking hits to his ribs. So maybe that's one of the reasons why he didn't look great, at least in a lot of people's eyes, because that's something I heard a lot as well, was he didn't look great in that game. I know he was kind of hurt though, but in this game, again, Penix does what he's been doing his entire career. Now, like you said, the GM had somewhat of the foresight to draft this guy even after paying Kirk Cousins, and the Packers have done it. And what you're saying, like, we're not just looking at this year, right? We don't necessarily want to just win this year. I mean, every team's goal is to win the Super Bowl, but a lot of these teams are not going to. Aaron Rodgers said it earlier this year. There's about 8 teams every year that more than likely are going to win the Super Bowl. And, he said that the Jets were one of them this year. And that's really the reality. I mean, you could probably even bring it down to 6 teams that are really, really, really Super Bowl contenders, like
Right.
straight up Super Bowl contenders. So the Falcons, maybe not. This is the first year they're going to have Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix. Obviously, their biggest problem has been a quarterback. So yeah, why not look to the future? Why not look to the future after you paid a quarterback over $100 million, but who's also coming off an Achilles and is at the tail end of his career, more than likely, right? So why not look to the future like that with Michael Penix? I think in reality too, the Cousins contract is guaranteed maybe just 2 years. So after 2 years, they can either like cut him or we'll do whatever. So at that point in 2 seasons, when you look at it in that sort of aspect, the Michael Penix pick does seem to be a little bit better. And if he continues to do well in the preseason, and who knows, he might come in for maybe some garbage time minutes during a lopsided win or garbage minutes in a lopsided loss for the Falcons, and he continues to look good. This might be another situation where, yeah, you paid this guy, but this guy, the one you drafted, is doing much better and is going to bring a spark to this team and may end up being the quarterback one for the rest of the season and even next season if he continues to do well. So I like it. I just, with the Aaron Rodgers thing, I felt like maybe at that point it was a little bit different. But the comparison is still like the GM has a foresight. They've been doing it away, and they've won 2 Super Bowls doing it that way, 2 quarterbacks in a row. So shit, third time's a charm again. Why not? Right. So that's what they did with Jordan Love. But yeah, man, Penix could absolutely be that guy for the Falcons if all goes well.
Yeah, and you mentioned the garbage time, and I think those are going to be valuable reps, especially what he does in the preseason. I mean, Penix is one of the most high-profile backups in the league right now because of where he was drafted, and that ultimately makes him intriguing even in the preseason. So the Falcons kind of went with a pass-happy approach, but I think they just wanted to get a glimpse of what Atlanta's future could be when Kirk Cousins does decide to hang up the cleats. And that's what their head coach, Raheem Morris, said, is he got a little pass happy with him, obviously being a first round quarterback, but it was fun to see him go out there and execute some of the pass plays to be able to get some stuff done and really lead the offense to get them in and out of the huddle. Pretty much a pretty good night for him. And I was pretty pleased with what he was able to do. Yep. I think we all felt that way after watching him play. So Penix goes out there. I mean, the headline of this is that Falcons rookie quarterback Michael Penix Jr. shines in debut with him saying, I was ready to go. And he did say that these games matter. Every game matters to me. And that's normally something everybody would say. But it does seem like Penix is potentially trying to earn the starting job. While we all kind of rule it off the table, and Atlanta's obviously named Kirk Cousins the starting quarterback, there's still this like personal war going on between Michael Penix and himself, where he's like, I want to show Atlanta that I'm the best quarterback on this roster. Whether I start week 1 or not, I have to make the most of my reps to go out there and show them and force them to make a tough business decision. So I don't know. I mean, I think it would take a lot more than this for that to happen. But God forbid, like you said, if Kirk Cousins throws 3 picks in the first half and they need a spark and Michael Penix comes into the game, I mean, he's proving that he's not going to take those snaps for granted, and he might just win that job.
Yeah, and I just absolutely love the attitude that a lot of these guys have, because none of these quarterbacks, and maybe it just it says something about how they came up and the trials and tribulations that they've all been through, the good times and the bad times that they've been through, is like you didn't really hear any of them kind of gloat or brag about their preseason debut. You know what I mean? A lot of them were like, you know what, I felt good. I'm ready. I'm going to make them I'm going to force them to make a tough decision, but regardless, right? Like, I am going to be ready. Like Caleb Williams said it. Jaden Daniels said it. And you look at these guys, and after what they did, and you kind of just want to be like, dude, just talk about it. But no, that's not what they're about. They're about winning games. They're about making sure the playbook is or they know the playbook, they know who to go to, they know what the team needs from them and what the coaching staff and really what everyone needs from them, right? This entire organization needs from them. And they're just going out there and doing it, man. They're doing their job, and they're doing it in a way where it's not, you're not bragging about it, and you're not making an ass of yourself. So like you talked about it at the very top of the show, this may be the best quarterback class there is. I think it can be. You know, I said it during I think it was after the draft. I was like, this may be one of the best quarterback classes. Like when we look back in like 5-10 years, we're like, these quarterbacks, these 6 quarterbacks that went in the first round are all starters at that, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Like that would be one of the craziest things to happen.
And I go back to the backpack where Sean was interviewing Bo Nix, and he asked him to empty his backpack. He wanted to see what he carries with him. He was like, you get like, hey, write this play on the wall, or hey, speak this play back to me, but you don't really get empty your backpack. Like that's not not like a normal interview thing. But he empties his backpack, and all he has is film and playbooks from high school. And Sean was like, this is our guy, because he's a student of the game. His dad's a coach. He's obsessed with the X's and O's, just like Caleb Williams is. When you listen to Caleb Williams talk in interviews, you can tell that he's not just really good at football, but he's obsessed with the game. Like he is trying to learn as much as he can. There's a reason that he says Matthew Stafford is completely underrated on the top 100 list, is because he has an eye for these guys that are, I mean, he said, I mean, it's kind of blaspheming for a Bears fan, but he said Aaron Rodgers was his favorite quarterback in the NFL. I don't know if you were ever going to bring it up, but I will.
Fuck no, I wasn't going to bring that up.
I was like, he can only say that now because he's a Jet. You know, if he was still there, he wouldn't have said that. But yeah, I mean, these quarterbacks all seem to be true students of the game. It's just a really good class, and they're not just really good at football. Like we've had quarterbacks that are even drafted number 1 overall, like Jamarcus Russell. He's not going to read a playbook. Johnny Manziel's not reading a playbook.
No.
You got a group of guys here that are obsessed with the playbook, and you mix that with their physical talent and their natural ability, and you get something special. And one of the things I like the most, before we move on to NFL news, is one of the things I liked the most was that there was a moment between Michael Penix and Bo Nix that was very similar. And I would have to do more research to see if other quarterbacks had this moment. Yeah. But for Lucas Kroll, our tight end, Bo Nix goes out there. He throws him a really good ball, great placement. He fumbles the ball. The very next play, the Broncos get an interception. And guess who? Bo Nix runs back out on the field. The first play, he throws it back to Lucas Kroll. And then the next play, he throws it back to Lucas Kroll. So it was like, hey, I'm like, as a fan watching that game, I was like, well, he's not making the active roster. And I've been saying all season that Lucas Kroll is going to be a breakout player, but I didn't even realize that was Lucas Kroll. I was like, that guy's not. And then I see Bo Nix go back to, and I'm like, that's huge. That is huge. Hey, this is my opportunity to make everybody see that I'm special, and you're ruining it. And not only that, I'm going to give you the ball back to redeem yourself with my moment on the line. And this same thing that happened with Chris Blair, who fumbled after a short completion for Atlanta. But on the next drive, Penix went right back to Blair, hitting him in stride for a 41-yard completion down the sideline. And Penix told CB, that's Chris Blair, I'll give him a chance. I told him that right after the turnover. So he goes up to him. He's like, you need to make it up, basically. I'm coming right back to you.
Yeah.
That's just like icing on the cake from everything that we've been saying so far. But these guys seem to have the whole package, everything you want out of your quarterbacks.
Yeah. And I love that they after not necessarily a mistake, but after, maybe an incompletion or a fumble, it's like, go back to that guy. That guy is the one who wants to make this up to the team, right? For not catching a first down, for fumbling and turning it over, for not doing his assignment. He is the one who wants to make it up the most. So he's going to try his hardest on the next play. And like you said, like they're going to go to him next, no matter what. No matter what, they're going to go to him next. And guess what? He was able to recover, make a completion, get a touchdown, whatever it was that the mistake was, and he rectified it. And to me, I think that's like an awesome lesson to kind of teach everyone, coaches, players, kids, everything. Like, hey, someone makes a mistake, they're the one, and it affects a large group. They're the one who wants to make it up to everyone the most. So give them that opportunity.
Do you think that quarterbacks have to do a little more if they're drafted a little bit later? Like, for instance, let's say out of a scale of 0 to 100, let's say Caleb Williams played at an 85. Okay. Now, do you think Caleb Williams' 85 is going to be graded higher than Michael Penix's 85 because of draft position? Like, do these later round quarterbacks, or not even later round, but just later drafted quarterbacks, do they have to do more than Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels?
I think so. And I think that really, like how you said, I think it really just speaks to where they were drafted. Caleb Williams is number 1 overall. If he doesn't win a Super Bowl with the Bears, if he doesn't make it to a second contract with the Bears, bust, right? Like, that is unfortunately what happens to you as a number 1 overall pick. Jamarcus Russell, bust. Johnny Manziel, bust. These guys, 1, were not football guys. 2, did not make a second contract. 3, had terrible careers and were just, I don't know, bad teammates or bad players in general. And so they're labeled as busts. Well, who's the biggest bust in history? The quarterback. He went to the Chargers. God, what's his name? Chris Leaf, right? Or
something
Leaf. Ryan Leaf. Yes. So like that, absolutely. Nobody ever remembers, or nobody's ever going to remember the guy who was picked second, who's picked third, who's picked fourth, who's picked fifth, if that number 1 overall is a complete bust. Can you remember who was picked after Jamarcus Russell? Like, quarterback wise, probably not, right? Like if we're being honest, probably not. Because
what year
we
was
know
that? 2004, 2000.
I know it was later than that, but
2007,
something like that.
2008. Yeah, I think it was 2008.
2008. So, and that's my point, right? Like, do you remember anybody other than Jamarcus Russell? Because he was just like a huge bust of a quarterback. Let's see. Yeah, 2007. Jamarcus Russell.
Matthew Stafford was drafted the next year, number 1 overall.
Yeah, 2007 NFL draft, number 1. Jamarcus Russell. Calvin Johnson was
Jay
number
Cutler
2.
was in that draft. No, the next year.
Joe Thomas was number 3. Gaines Adams, Levi Brown, LaRon Land. You know what I mean? So, like, you don't remember necessarily the order, but you just remember Jamarcus Russell was a huge bust. So, to answer your question, yes, absolutely. Like, these guys, Penix, even Bo Nix, even like JJ McCarthy, they have to do a little bit more. They have to do a 90 to be at the same level as Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May's 85 or 80 even, for that matter, right? So they have to do that little extra to kind of be on the same level, even though really they are performing better. And Bill, I see your question. We're definitely gonna go for that a little bit later, unless you want to do it now, Kyle, before news or whatever you were. Let's kind of flow with it.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I was gonna give you was just I was telling Rick, I was house watching for my aunt and uncle, so I was watching all of the football games. And I had my notes open on my phone, and Bill was like, I lost my cable, so I told him I was like, I'm taking notes. I'll catch you up on Monday. Well, here's some of the stuff that's not quarterback related, just to fly through. One of the moments was cool was the Texans punter, Tommy Townsend. He punts the ball, and the Steeler that's back there muffs the punt, and the Texans recover it. And I guess he was mic'd up, or there was a hot mic near him. And he tells the punter, Tommy Townsend, tells the guy that muffed the punt, "Catch the ball, bitch." it's going to be, what do you call it? An instant classic. preseason moment. Um,
I love those. Those are great.
Yeah, good moment. Stefan Diggs had a conversation on the sideline that looked passionate. Haters are saying that it was a heated conversation. So just like take that with, a grain of sand or grain of salt, whatever it
Grain of
is,
salt. Yeah.
because let's be real, like if you watch the actual footage, it doesn't look like they're fighting about anything. It just looks like they're having a passionate discussion about trying to learn how these three are going to operate. Okay, you're going to do this, I'm going to do this, like you yang, I yang, like they have to have these conversations. But people are already saying Stefan Diggs he's already turning out to be a problem.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah.
I don't know about that. Jalen Wright, he looked really good. Jalen Wright, the running back out of Tennessee that the Dolphins drafted, he looked really good. Solid first impression. He had 55 yards. He had 10 carries. His second attempt, he patiently waited for his blockers and then accelerated right before what would be a tackler bounced off of him. His touchdown came when cutting off the backside of the pulling guard. He sees the field really well, and my note was simply where like Raheem Mostert, you got A-Chain, who really impressed a lot of people, and you bring in Jalen Wright. It's like Miami just continues to bring in running backs, and I'm just wondering. I was like, I don't know if they expected him to be that good. He looked like he was gonna be good enough. Of course, he'll be on the active roster, but he might play a significant role in Miami's offense, which isn't something that I thought going into this game. So Jalen Wright, if you're a Dolphins fan, you're excited about that. Now, this was one of my favorite moments, okay? Will Rickards, the kicker I wanted out of Alabama. All right, he's almost set up for a game-winning field goal in his season debut, but Kevin O'Connell punts the ball on 4th and 4. So right when he punts the ball, I'm thinking, oh, okay, he's not going to get the game-winning field goal. Well, I didn't see that they had 3 timeouts. So the Vikings call all 3 timeouts. The Raiders run it. 3rd and 11, 1 minute and 40 seconds left. The Raiders run it, and the Vikings use their final timeout. The Vikings get the ball back, and this was a weird thing that I don't want to brush over. So I don't know what Antonio Pierce was doing, dude, but you got to go watch the last minute of this game.
Okay.
He made some very questionable decisions when it came to clock management. So the Vikings used all their timeouts, so they had none left. But the Vikings were getting like 20-yard receptions downfield. And when the Vikings were in hurry-up mode, like, okay, we got to spike the ball or snap a play, there's just not enough time. Antonio Pierce called timeout. And we were like, okay, that's kind of weird. Why would he do that? And I was like, maybe he didn't like his defense, whatever, benefit of the doubt. Well, then the Vikings get like a 13-yard reception right after that. They're running. Antonio Pierce calls a timeout.
What the fuck?
And I'm like, what is going on? Why is he calling timeouts? Like the Vikings are in panic mode, and he's slowing the game down and stopping the clock. And then the Raiders called the final timeout with 39 seconds on the clock remaining. It was ticking down. After the Vikings completed a pass to get to the Raiders 39, it was a slant setting up a makeable field goal, and they get the ball to the 28-yard line, and Antonio Pierce calls another timeout. So basically,
all 3?
Yeah, all 3 of them.
What the fuck?
So then the Vikings just take a knee and then let the clock go all the way down to 3 seconds and spike it, and then out comes the rookie kicker in his home debut with a chance to win the football game. It's 21-23 at the moment. And the Vikings did spike it with 3 seconds left on the 23. Will makes the kick, his season debut as the Vikings kicker. He kicks a game-winning field goal to put the Vikings on top, 34-31. I thought that was like one of the feel-good moments of this week. Imagine being a rookie kicker in your very first preseason game. You hit a game winner at home.
That's got to be a sick feeling. And knowing, dude, what the fuck was Antonio Pierce thinking? All 3 timeouts.
Dude, it makes no sense to me. Like, if you guys are watching this, like, please, next time we go live, you watch the last minute and tell me what you think, because it just is like, even the announcers were like, what is going on? Why is he doing that?
Why is he doing all of his timeouts when the Vikings are
panicking?
clearly, I was like, that's a weird thing. Hopefully that does not translate into the regular season. I mean, I know you're hoping that does translate into the regular season, especially against the Broncos, but damn, that would suck, because Antonio Pierce, I feel like, is going into this season with a lot of hype, a lot of support too from his team. So, but I know you want that to happen.
Of course. And my last note was on a 3rd and 15. This was one of the drives that ended in a field goal for the Broncos, where Veely was running a route and he ran a flag, which is a post. Well, it's the opposite of a post. He was supposed to run a flag and he ran a post. So basically, Bo Nix threw it to his back shoulder away from the safety, and Veely ran in. So the ball was nowhere near the wide receiver, right? It was a miscommunication by a rookie and a rookie. But what I wrote down here was that Bo was yelling at Veely after this play, and he was even going like this, like telling him like how to run his route. And I was like, this motherfucker's a pro. Like, this is what I want to see out of my quarterback. Like, not like yelling in like a toxic way, but just like how Manning used to be the sheriff, like if you weren't where you're supposed to, Manning was going to let you know.
He was going to let you know.
I loved seeing that out of Bo, because I was like, dude, he's a rookie too, and he's already coaching up the other rookies. Like, I had to put that in my notes, but overall, it was a great week 1. I think every franchise is feeling really optimistic right now. I can't think of a single team that is like, no, we're kind of doomed, actually.
Panthers.
The Panthers even have hope, but I'll say the Patriots, they probably are that team that you're like, I don't know how they're going to do it. But since you were gone, they released Juju Smith, and just I said this, I think it was on Friday,
really?
But they released him, and I was like, I think that there was this power struggle where Gerard Mayo was trying to establish a culture, and he drafted all these rookie pieces where he can kind of be like, okay, this is going to be the new Patriot way. And I think he just had to get rid of a couple pieces that were going to, I guess, threaten that locker room that he wanted. They did. I think I just saw something that said that he just spoke out about it for the first time. So I'm curious to what he said, because all I could do is speculate why he would be released when they don't have any weapons.
So one of the quotes here from Gerard Mayo, he said it was a decision between Elliot Wolf and myself, really to give the younger guys an opportunity to go out there and get more reps and show what they could do, because Juju had 2 more years left on his deal, but the roster spot per this Boston.com article was far from a guarantee. He said after recording 78 catches for 933 yards with the Chiefs in 2022, Smith only reeled in 29 for 260 yards and 1 touchdown with New England. He was on the field for just 11 snaps during New England's 17-3 preseason win over the Panthers on Thursday night. And then Mayo said, I mean, that's a part of it in regards to his health, factoring in the decision to part ways with him. At the same time, we just want him to get healthy. He still has some good ball left in him, and I wish him nothing but the best. So like you said, this is more of a youth movement, and the fact that Juju really, he's still somewhat young and not necessarily like burnt out in any way or old or anything, but he just, I don't know, man. It just, the Chiefs year, I feel like was the product of having Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback and not necessarily emerging as that number 1 wide receiver for the Chiefs. I feel like if you can't do that with Mahomes, it's kind of difficult to stay on another team. But yeah, it just seems to me like Gerard Mayo and the Patriots just want to go with a youth movement here.
Yeah, I take it grain of sand again. But when they were making a move for Brandon Ayuk. They asked him about it, and he was like, okay, let me just tell you this. He was talking to the reporters. He was like, let me tell you this now. We're not going to talk about players that aren't in the building.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's fresh off of a statement like that. My whole point is, like, even if it was that Juju Smith was, even if it was something else, I don't think Gerard Mayo Gerard Mayo, I don't think he would tell you. I think you got to keep in mind who he learned how to deal with the media from. He learned from Belichick. When did Belichick ever offer any advice or information on a player that was in the building or not in the building? Like, he always was just like, it's on to Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati. Yeah, but how do you feel like your team? It's on to Cincinnati.
Never anything else. Like, that's all you got from him.
Yeah.
He's taking that same approach. And in some senses, Gerard Mayo's definitely taken some things from Belichick. And I think he, just like a lot of us, learned, like, hey, you got to focus on the next thing or the thing at hand and not necessarily speculate or talk about other things that don't necessarily need to be talked about in this moment.
Yeah. And there was, did you say that there was a question before I go through? You said Bill had a question, right?
Yes, because I like this question from Bill. He goes, who's the fun guy on your teams I could root for, like Kittle? For the Giants, I'd say keep an eye on Sexy Dexy and his dance. So fun guys on your team. I'm trying to think for the Bears.
Fun guy. Like just, could it be anything? Or does it have to be like the party guy, or is it like just somebody that is interesting?
Because, like, for me, one of the guys that was like the fun guy for one of the Bears teams was Anthony Adams, because every time, like, the pregame huddle, he'd be in there, he'd be like dancing, he'd be lifting his shirt up and fucking slapping his belly and having like a good time, keeping like the good vibes up for the team. I think for me, this is kind of a weird one, but I feel like Tory Taylor, our punter from Australia, like, for me, I feel like that guy's got some, like, what's the word? He's got some, like, charisma to him, like some, like, pizzazz, I guess you would say if you're a boomer. Some pizzazz, you know what I mean? He seems like he's going to be one of those guys that is very quotable during the season and very lighthearted and tries to keep things as lighthearted as you can. And for being on special teams as a punter, like, he's probably not going to get a lot of, like, screen time or, like, but I feel like when he does, he's going to, like, definitely capture it and make it his own. So I'm going to go Tory Taylor, the punter for the Bears.
I'm going to go with Riley Moss, who is competing for the cornerback number 2 position. He's a white corner.
he's a white corner. That's always fun.
It's like that Shane Gillis where he's like, oh shit, we caught it, fucking go. Oh,
I love Shane Gillis so goddamn much. What's his name again?
The
cornerback,
Riley Moss.
Okay, Riley Moss.
He's fun to root for, honestly, because we do need a good cornerback too. I think, I'm trying to think, like, I don't know. I mean, a lot of these guys too are I like Lucas Kroll. Kroll. Okay. Check out my short about it, because that'll be my final answer here. Lucas Kroll, because
Lucas Kroll.
He went he played baseball in college, and then he was drafted baseball, and he did like JUCO baseball, and then drafted again, and then he did like JUCO football. Like, he's had a really weird path to the NFL.
Yeah.
And I think those are some of the most fun people to cheer for. Absolutely. Like, how did you find this guy? You know, I mean, I have a short, you guys can check it out, and it kind of goes through that whole timeline of him, but he's definitely the guy that I would be cheering for this year.
Hell yeah. I love that.
I have to show you something.
Oh, that's never, it's like, that's kind of a, like, you know, it's kind of a bad thing.
No, it's a good thing.
Okay.
I promise. Let me just see if I can pull it up.
Oh yeah, pull it up.
Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
What is wrong with you?
Hey, we
Okay.
got Angel in the chat. Angel,
No way.
what's up?
Angel.
And we got
Wow.
Brother T. When did Kyle get hot? What do you mean when? He's been hot.
Yeah. All right. Calm down. Okay,
Is that my
so
vape?
I'm going to try to pull it up, but you didn't see Jameis Winston's pregame speech to the Browns. Highly
heard
recommend you go check it out. I'm trying to figure out. Hold on. Let me see if I can log into. I'm
It's
trying to
so
log
funny.
in. Let me see if I can just go into. I'm trying to go into X. I don't want
Let's
to do
see.
that.
Jameis Winston Brown's speech. Because it was
Yes.
funny. I heard about it.
Yes. Do you see it?
No, I heard about it. So let me see if I can. Because it's so funny.
The NFL actually posted it. I mean, it was reposted by a lot of people because it's 50 seconds. People are like, "Damn, leave some for the regular season." Like he was going in. I really want to find this.
Yeah, he's going ham. Do you want to just
You're watching
retweet
it?
it? Yeah, well, I'm not with the noise, but I'm just seeing like his passion through it.
Winston pregame speech. Let me see if I can.
He's like, "Where my dog?"
Got it.
Let's go.
Got it. All right, here we go. Share, present, arms.
All
All right, here we go.
It's simple. Be obsessed with your opportunity. Yeah. All of us that came from wherever we from. Right here, we got right now. So be obsessed with your opportunity. I got one thing for y'all, man. I just want y'all to help me out because I know we're a team, all right? I have my dream, all right? All right, when I say one of my dogs, then y'all say we ready, all right? Where my dogs at? When I say one of my dogs, then y'all say we ready, all right? Where my dogs at? No, I'm about to spell the Browns out. I know we one team, man. Come on, Dave. You gonna say that's get it?
He's great.
B-R-O-W-N. One, two, three, four.
My
Bro.
God, the passion, the absolute passion in that man's voice.
I would put him on my active roster just for the pregame speeches.
100%.
Honestly, that's something missing in our game. I remember when there was a Madden, I forget what year it was, but it was Ray Lewis, and it was like, can you feel it? That thing beating in your down chest right now. Can you feel what's about to happen on this field? Like there used to be this like pregame pump ups that I haven't really seen it as much as I did in the early 2000s with like Ed Reed and Ray Lewis and these like super hot, Brian Dawkins, you know, the Weapon X, Wolverine, like these people used to see that a lot more. So I like seeing that. It's been a while since I've seen a good pregame speech like that. And I was like, in the preseason is when we get it. What a weird like Jameis Winston just fired up for this preseason game, dude.
Dude, fucking what's his face? Goddamn, who's the quarterback? Deshaun Watson is looking at that. Yeah, and he's like, oh fuck. Because Jameis Winston is about to come and take over, dude. Honestly, like if Jameis Winston was like the starter for the Browns this season, that would be a crazy team. That would be a ridiculous team. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm seeing. I got it. He said that was Brian Dawkins. I'm like, that is Brian Dawkins. Okay,
Brian Dawkins speech,
not Ray Lewis, but Ray Lewis had some epic pregame speeches.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, Brian Dawkins was an animal as well. Just absolutely monster. Justin Tucker has a pregame speech.
Just a kicker? I don't know about that one. I don't know if I'm going to get as hyped.
No.
The place kicker? Angel, thanks for stopping by. Sorry about your loss for your friend. Angel did lose a friend from Twitter, so sorry about that loss, Angel. But thank you for stopping by. It's been a while. Make sure to stop by during the season, obviously. You know, you're always welcome here on the Only Football Podcast. And the season's ready. It's gearing up. We're like 20-some days away, dude. We're 20-some days away.
Dude, we are getting super close. So here's a couple of the preseason grades, and I was excited to tell you because Caleb Williams got an A. This was an article that was written by Chad Rutter, who's a draft analyst for NFL.com, and this is what they said about Caleb Williams. The number 1 overall pick in April started Saturday afternoon's 33-6 win over the Bills. Bears fans saw all his attributes during the contest, with Williams leading the team to field goals on each of his 2 drives. The Heisman Trophy winner stood tall in the pocket on the first series, looking at multiple targets before peppering a first down throw to DJ Moore. He also showed improbability, stepping out of a closed pocket early in the drive to throw away a pass, and later flipping a no-look screen pass while under pressure to DeAndre Swift, who took it for 42 yards. A lot of these guys got it C's and B's and B pluses. Caleb Williams stands at the top of this list with an A grade, and it's crazy because he only did 2 drives, but still it was enough for people to give him that A, just like the Bears draft grade when they drafted him. As well. A surprising, I knew you'd be fired up. A surprising A grade went to Graham Barton, the center out of Duke that Tampa Bay drafted. The Bucs were looking to replace their leader, Ryan Jensen, who retired, and it looks like Graham Barton is going to fill in right away. And I couldn't believe how far he was falling in the draft. I think he was selected around 20-something.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime you use a first round pick on a center, the idea is that he's going to come in and immediately make an impact. But as we know, the center position's kind of weird. I mean, Lloyd Cushenberry was the best center out of LSU in 2020, the 2020 draft, and he didn't even get good at center until last year. You know, I mean, sometimes
that's true.
It takes some time for them to really get going. Graham Barton looks like he's going to be good right away. Brian Thomas Jr., the replacement for Calvin Ridley with the Jaguars, got a B grade in their win over Kansas City. He had a 41-yard reception on a ball.
With that?
Yeah, I can fuck with that. And this was getting, the quarterback was CJ Beathard. So I don't know. Remember when he was drafted, you were like, maybe he's going to be really good. Drafted in the 3rd round. He was drafted with a first-round pick. It's just like he wasn't Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr., but he was that wave of wide receivers. He looked really good in his debut. With Gabriel Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. and Christian Kirk is still there, right?
Yeah, Christian Kirk's still there.
I mean, I think it's fair to say like Jacksonville doesn't really have a weapon problem. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could see is maybe Gabe Davis not necessarily being as much of a huge weapon anymore. I know he was coming off an injury, right? If I'm not mistaken. So I think
who's coming off an injury?
Wasn't it Gabe Davis?
No, I don't think he was injured. But he wasn't playing his regular snap share. For some reason, it was like things were getting weird in Buffalo.
I think it was because of, things were getting weird in Buffalo. You're right. Something about like the emergence of Shakur too, I think took away from him a little bit. Like there was a snap count that he wasn't playing. Shakur was a bit more of an emerging star. You had Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, the 2 tight end set who Josh Allen was really relying on too as kind of a safety blanket. And then you got Stephon Diggs, the number 1 wide receiver there that you have to get the ball to or else he's going to complain about it. So, I mean, I don't know if Gabe Davis necessarily is like, you look at Gabe Davis, you probably saw that acquisition for the Jags and you were like, oh, this is a good acquisition. But then you saw the draft of, oh my God, I'm forgetting his name. Why am I forgetting his name? what was the wide receiver they just drafted?
Brian Thomas Jr.
Brian Thomas Jr. Yes, thank you. You just literally just said it. But Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, and that's when it becomes like, okay, now I feel like it's going to be the Brian Thomas Jr. show there with Trevor Lawrence, and you've got Gabe Davis as well as the other wide receiver there, Christian Kirk, kind of helping out. So I feel like it's for the most part, I think going forward, it's going to be Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be number one.
Well, the expectations for the Jags is to go to the playoffs this year. And that's like, if they miss the playoffs, they might fire Doug Peterson. Like, you can't pay your quarterback that much money and miss the playoffs. So
that's true.
I expect the Jags to be a little bit better than people are projecting. I think they got a 9-win projection this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take double-digit wins for the Jags. Another surprise was Javon Bullard. So he was the safety drafted out of Georgia for the Packers, and the Packers, I just posted this the other day where it was the average age of each NFL roster. The Packers still have the youngest roster in the NFL.
Yeah.
Javon Bullard gets added to this defense, and safeties is another one where they can actually, on the opposite of a center, they can adapt very quickly. Kyle Hamilton. You think of the safety, Derwin James. Like a lot of safeties that are projected really high, they come in and they make an impact right away. And it looks like the Packers are going to get that with Javon Bullard because he came in and he looked really good. He wasn't afraid to take on blockers. He forced an early run play inside by keeping leverage on a slot receiver. Shortly after, he chopped down on Bell immediately after a catch in third down. He stopped them short of the line to gain twice in that game. So he was just flying around making plays. I'm sure Tom Grassi, Packer fans around the world were like, hey, I like this guy, Javon Bullard. So the Packers already, I mean, they're at that point where it felt like the Texans when they got Stephon Diggs, where it's like anything else that they get just seems like a bonus, right? It already seems like they have a pretty solid team, a better than solid team, but then it's like you add a couple pieces like this throughout the draft, and the Packers and Luke Van Ness is supposed to take a huge step this year. Their draft picks are starting to really the Packers are reaping what they've been sowing for the last 4 years of boring drafts. And it's starting to make a lot of sense. And they might not need Jordan Love to be an MVP caliber player if the defense is going to work under the new defensive coordinator, who is the head coach at Boston College. I'm forgetting his name. They just added him, but what is his name?
Packers defensive coordinator is going to be Jeff Hafley.
So I like the direction the Packers are headed in. They get a good weapon. Dallas Turner looked really good. Ben Signett, he got an A- grade. The Commanders tight end, the one that Bill wanted, who ended up going to the Commanders. He looked really good in the preseason as well.
No shit.
And last but not least, Byron Murphy, who was a straight dog. Went out there, dude, and he looked like he could win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Like, he looked that good for the Seahawks. It did not take long for him to make himself known on the field. Super explosive. From the very first snap, he was a factor. He jumped from a shade position on one side of the center to the other, a gap, avoiding a double team to get into the backfield. His lone tackle came in the second quarter when he used his strength to force the right guard into the backfield and shed him quickly to grab the running back for a 1-yard loss. You know, you just saw it right away. You're like, this guy's going to be a force on that defensive line. And the Seahawks have been another team that's drafted really well. And Byron Murphy is going to at least be in, I think, the running for Defensive Rookie of the Year with maybe even Peyton Wilson, who didn't go to the second round. But you remember Peyton Wilson, the linebacker out of
linebacker.
He looked really good too. So, I mean, dude, we got a whole new class of players that have come into the NFL and are just taking it by storm right now.
Yeah, Byron Murphy, I heard nothing but good things. And being in Washington, I hear a lot of people talking about Byron Murphy and what he was doing in that preseason game. And you hope that as a Seattle fan, you bring over McDonald as a head coach, who was not McDonald. Yeah, McDonald, right? McDonald is now the head coach of the Seahawks, and what he was able to do on the defense for oh my God, what's his name for McDonald
for the Ravens?
What's his first name? Yeah, for the Ravens. What's his first name? Do you remember?
Mike McDonald. He's the head coach for the Seahawks now.
Yes. Thank you. But what he was able to do with the Ravens defense, like you hope he can bring that over with the super talented defense that Seattle has. And you're able to recreate some of that. That way you can take some of the pressure off of Geno too. And not even like take the pressure off of Geno, but because that offense also has a lot of weapons. We talk about Kenneth Walker, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Like, it really is like Geno Smith's to kind of fuck up at this point, really, because your defense is looking very promising. You bring in a defensive-minded coach, and now that guy's bringing in an offensive coordinator who hopefully, with all of what Geno has done in Seattle, to build off of that with those weapons that are still there from last year. So Byron Murphy, I've been hearing a lot about. Again, Seattle fans have been talking to me about it, and just super excited about Byron Murphy and that defense. Again, just in general, that defense, how well they're doing.
Well, Rick, I think it's time.
Is it time? Is it time for the motherfucking Yeah.
Welcome to the Chives with the Chives. Welcome to the Chives with Kyle. Big news today out of New York. Hassan Reddick requests trade from the Jets, and New York says that it will not deal the offensive outside linebacker. I think it's so funny when a player requests a trade and then the team comes back immediately and is like, we're not doing it.
Nope.
Don't even call.
I think it's so funny, dude, because they put out an entire statement. They're like, we have zero intentions of trading Hassan Reddick.
It makes you wonder, like, how much leverage a player really has, where it
really does
it really just end there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, no matter what I want to do, as long as you're not willing, I'm screwed. Well, it seems to be what's going on. New York is kind of going through a contract dispute with Hassan Reddick, and months later, it appears that this has kind of gotten to a boiling point. Reddick has held out of Jets training camp since it began last month due to a contract dispute, and now he wants to be traded as of today. The trade request comes as a result of failure to come together on a new contract or even convince Reddick to show up for camp. So it appears that the Jets aren't budging, either digging in by quickly releasing a statement on the matter shortly after on Monday afternoon today. And this is what he said: "We have informed Hassan that we will not trade him, that he is expected to be here with his teammates, and he will continue to be fined per the CBA if he does not report." That was said by the general manager, Joe Douglas. "Since the trade discussions back in March, we have been clear, direct, and consistent with our position. Our focus will remain on the guys we have here as we prepare for the regular season." Reddick was set to earn $14 million in the final year of his contract. Maybe you could say that he's definitely worth more than that. I think that's fair. It's kind of like the reports coming out about Brandon Ayuk, where like he was offered $26 million a year. It's like, no, he was offered $26 million a year back in March, and we actually have no reports that that amount of money is still on the table. Matter of fact, as of now, Brandon Ayuk would have to play on the tag, I think making like $14 million a year, which in this case, he would get tagged at the end of this year. So he would have to play 2 seasons with no insurance on 1-year deals. I think this is the player side of it. So Reddick is like, no, I should be getting paid more. I'm 29 years old. I'm about to be 30, and I haven't gotten that major contract. I've been to 2 Pro Bowls. I have 50 sacks to my name in the last 4 seasons. There's absolutely no reason that you guys shouldn't prioritize paying me. But they're not doing it. And it's same thing with the 49ers. And you're just wondering, well, what are they going to do? Are they just going to end up playing, or are they going to keep taking these fines? But this isn't a good thing if you're a Jets fan. It's the same thing with the 49ers. It's like you want the vibes to be right around mid-August. Like, this is not June anymore. It's time to get all the ducks in a row and get ready to go compete, because the season is around the corner and you need your best players on the field. And it seems like Hassan Reddick is going to continue to hold out until he gets money.
Yeah, and that was kind of one of the surprising things, kind of hearing that too, because this guy was just acquired 4 months ago and was like repping Jets gear and like, all about being a Jet. But he did that with the intention of completing another deal, completing an extension or whatever. So, I mean, I guess I could see that side, because we've talked about it on this podcast where we can see where these players are coming from in terms of, I want to know that I'm staying here for a set amount of time, that I am going to be here for at least 4 years, for at least 5 years with my contract. Kyle and I, we've talked about it before. Again, being in the military, we like that consistency of one location. And, military, you have to move every once in a while. You got to go on deployment. You got to go here. You got to do that. And, oh, now you're moving over here because of orders, blah, 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 blah. So we took that into consideration when we were talking about it. So again, I can see where Hassan Reddick's coming from with that, but also, dude, just play for the Jets, man. You're probably going to get a contract extension soon. And especially if you come out and play the way you did, you're going to continue to get fined. Like, this is a CBA. This is an agreement, right? Like, this is a collective bargaining agreement. This is what was said and everybody agreed to. You're going to get fined, and that's just more money out of your pocket. And that fucking blows, especially when you were all about being a Jet a few months ago, even probably like 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like, so I think he should just go out there and show them what he can do, and then bring even more negotiating power to a deal.
Yeah, it was kind of like unfortunate for him, the timing of everything, because like I said, he's approaching his 30th birthday in September. Yeah. So he knows now, you either cash in right now or it's never going to happen, because if you have to play a couple more seasons, it's a lot more difficult for somebody to pay a massive contract to someone who's 32. Like in an ordinary situation, Reddick would have been paid around 26, 27, but he began his career kind of in an out of position linebacker with the Cardinals, and he didn't even get going until his fourth and final season with them. He had 12 and a half sacks in a contract year with Arizona before leaving them. And it's sad for some of these players where they're like, I don't want to say they're panicking, but it's like, if I don't get one of these massive contracts now, I'm not going to get one ever. And how can I be, back-to-back Pro Bowls, double-digit sacks, one of the best players on this very good defense, and somehow, be one of those players that it just never happens for? And I could see that bringing a little bit of anxiety.
Yep.
And I see the same thing with Debo, where he's like, well, I think
Ayuk?
I'm more, or with Ayuk, like I think I'm not, CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson, but I'm somebody that, Jerry Jeudy got $80 million. Like, what the hell? Like, why did Jerry Jeudy get $80 million and I don't, and I think it's always going to be this way every single offseason, but it sucks for the Jets, because the Jets, they need the vibes right. Aaron Rodgers is back. They just need, this is a Super Bowl or bust year. Hassan Reddick has an opportunity to be a part of that. I don't know if he should sit out and sacrifice that, because he may be the piece that either takes him over the top or doesn't. Like, he's that good for that defense.
Yeah, and this defense is already a fucking amazing unit. So you add a Hassan Reddick to it, and Jets fans, when that signing happened, were probably like, oh my God, we're about to be unstoppable, at least on defense. We got Aaron Rodgers back. We still have our weapons. Like, we're about to be unstoppable. So yeah, like you said, man, it's going to be tough for him to just sit out for a long period of time, knowing that with him on there, like you said, it could be the missing piece. It could make this defense the number 1 overall defense in all aspects, scoring, yards allowed, things like that. So it'll be tough for him. But again, we can both understand where he's coming from in terms of like wanting that, like, not necessarily longevity, but that like security of like, I know I'm going to be here for probably the rest of my career or something to that matter, right? Because I'm
like for the next 4 years, I get 100 million.
Exactly. And just not needing to move.
The other two pieces that are kind of small, I just want to make sure that we let you guys know that Hollywood Brown got injured in his preseason game, and he ended up having to be sidelined for the game. But the good news is Brown's shoulder clavicle dislocation was not serious enough to require surgery, according to Andy Reid today. So Reid wouldn't go as far as guaranteeing that he'll be ready for Week's 1 game against the Ravens, but he did say we'll see. And there was a similar injury that happened, the dislocation. Who was it? It was a Chiefs wide receiver, and he was out for 5 weeks or 4 weeks. So, I mean, if not Week 1, probably Week 2. But that was kind of a hold your breath moment because they're asking Hollywood Brown to play a significant role this year, and that's not the way you wanted to go. The other injury news is that Jalen Phillips, who tore his Achilles in December for the Miami Dolphins, is officially removed from the PUP list, which is the physically unable to perform list. Congratulations to the Dolphins. It's a major step in his comeback. And then the last thing is, Rick, what do you think about these players playing with the Guardian caps? I don't know if you've seen it.
It looks kind of funny.
Taylor was wearing one. I feel like it reminds me of. Do you remember Fatheads, like the bobblehead? I feel like that, like the video games, they have the giant heads. Like that's what it looks like to me. I don't know. Like the weirdest part was Jonathan Taylor, because I could understand a player going out there and being like, you know what, nothing is more important than my health, and I can respect that. I'm obviously not out there taking these hits. Who am I to tell him what to wear? Yeah. But what was weird was when Jonathan Taylor called his Guardian cap drip. Like, it is not drip. It like
you look ridiculous.
Like, what world are you living in where you like look in the mirror and you're like, yes, I look awesome.
That's fucking hot.
I was so shocked to hear drip, which conspiracies with Kyle. Here we go. This is what I think. I think there are a handful of players this year that are going to be paid under the table to wear a Guardian cap.
Oh, I could see that.
Taylor's one of them.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. I wonder if it'll come to light sometime in the future, though, because if that is happening, it's not a bad one. I don't think that's necessarily like crazy out there, because it's like, hey, we want to, but also, what would be the benefit though? Of
wearing the Guardian cap or the NFL?
No. The NFL paying them. Like, is it NFL, like, hey, we're promoting safety because these guys are wearing it? Okay.
Well, this is the thing. It's like, hey, if we have these helmets that science is showing that there's I don't have the numbers in front of me, but just for an example, a 40% reduction in concussions. And if you have a 40% reduction in concussions, that ultimately leads us to a 40% reduction in lawsuits, or something of that. I don't know the numbers, but I do think the NFL is like, hey, if we could get more players wearing these, maybe it could help us in the long run, even if it was just like public opinion. Like, they're trying. They're at least trying to do something. But I just think they look so dumb. Like, they look so bad.
So stupid.
It looks so stupid. I'm like, as bad as it sounds, if my team like lined up on Sunday and they all had one on, I would be like, the combination of that and these uniforms that I don't even love yet, like I would be like, what the fuck happened to my Broncos? Like, what is going on? Why do you guys look like that? Take those things off your head. It's like when you're wearing something stupid and your parents are like, take that stupid thing off.
Get that shit off your head.
Doing.
I like this comment by Bill. A 40% increase in jersey sales because the player isn't sidelined with an injury.
Well, I don't.
Ooh.
You're not buy a jersey because the player's injured. Or not. It's not like I'm going to throw my Surtain jersey in storage if he gets hurt.
But I still think that does have some sort of impact, whether it's 40%, whether it's 5%, that's still money in the pockets of the NFL. And the NFL, for as much as we love it, we talk about as much shit about it, because it's like, now we're going to stream a game on Netflix. Now we're going to stream a game on Christmas. Now we're going to stream a game on Friday in Brazil, and we have to sit here and we have to be like, okay, I guess we got to take it. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing we can do. We love watching football. You know what I mean? So I could see that one, Bill, for sure.
It is a debate going on right now. I think there's lawyers on X that are like, they haven't even proven that they're going to help with concussions yet. But it's like, well, let's just use reasoning here. I mean, could they hurt your chances? I mean, no.
Exactly,
of course,
yeah.
Adding extra padding can only help.
Yep.
There's no scenario where it's like, no, it didn't help at all. I just don't see how that's possible. So
yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, they look funny. They got bigger heads. It looks funny. I don't see this necessarily being something that's only going to be happening this year either. I feel like the more the season goes along, people are going to be like, oh, there's benefits. And like you said, maybe they're being paid under the table. And whether that's happening or not, I think next season and 3 seasons from now, you're going to be seeing it a lot more often. And they might become a little bit more intuitive to the helmet. They might, because this is just like the first one,
Yeah. Steelers offensive lineman James Daniel wore one against the Texans. Xavier Scott, Colts running back, and Jonathan Taylor, tight end Graylin Johnson, and safety Rodney Thomas, and linebacker Grant Stewart joined Jonathan Taylor. So there was a lot of Colts that were wearing one. And this is what they said. Our medical and equipment guys here do a great job of keeping us informed, Scott said via the Indianapolis Star. They've done the testing, and I don't know the numbers. No one knows the numbers.
No one ever knows the numbers.
They say it offers a significant reduction in concussions. It's kind of funny how everyone's just kind of like, I don't know the numbers per se. Well, if numbers don't exist yet because no one's really wearing them in full contact.
Yeah,
we need a couple years of data but it only works if everyone is wearing one. So I guess you could look at the concussions by the players that are wearing one, but that brings the incentive for the NFL to get at least a handful of guys to wear these, right? So they can at least compare it to something.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to get to a couple of these.
One.
What's that?
What if Caleb Williams came out week 1 with one on?
Oh, dude, it'd be drippy.
There's no way he would wear one.
I would flip that switch if he came out with it. I'd be like, this is the drippiest thing the NFL has ever done. If you're not wearing it, you're gay. Just all sorts
know what?
of shit.
It's not that bad. It's like that scene in Ted. The fact that you have to say it's not that bad means it's that bad.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the fact that you say it's not that bad. No, yeah, it's bad. But yeah, no, if Caleb Williams came out with it, I'd be like, I want one. Where can I get one? I need to just wear it. That's all. That's all I want.
Oh my God.
Real quick, Bill, as we start wrapping it up here, where's my super chats, Rick? Hopefully by the next time we go live, which is more than likely Thursday of this week, we will have super chats back up. Still need a little bit of time. I'm still moving in. I'm still getting stuff ready. And Bill, I know you say that with the laughing emoji, but I am going to be working on it for sure this week. If not Thursday, then more than likely, depending on how long YouTube takes to review everything and give it the check mark. Okay, Monday of next week. So hopefully this gets it's definitely going to be done before week 1. I will tell you that much. It will definitely be done before week 1. That way, week 1, when Colin and I are here just yelling at our TVs about the Bears and Broncos, you guys can be like, let me give these guys $5 because they're struggling right now.
Cheering.
Yeah, totally cheering. And this last one. Happy to see you got the X feed going too. That was all because of Bill.
Bill.
If anyone is watching this on X right now, we are only able to go back to streaming on X because of this beautiful man right here, Bill. He paid for an entire year's worth of X, the premium account, so we're able to stream. So if it wasn't for Bill, you wouldn't be seeing us on X streaming. So round of applause for Bill because he got us here, everybody. Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much. Big hearts, big hearts. And Bill's already got memberships to gift people. I love it. I fucking love it.
Yeah, we are going into season 3 here, and it's going to be better than any season that we've ever done. I went back and watched like one of our first episodes for fun, and man, we've come a long way. We have come a long way. There's going to be some surprises that we're going to be revealing to you guys, but week 1 is going to, I mean, as soon as that week 1 kicks off, it's going to be a new era of only football. Not just our season and our videos and the way it looks and production value, but also our teams are going into a new era. I think season 3 is going to be a pivotal year for us on this podcast and our teams. I think they're connected somehow.
I think so too, man, because we went into the first season of the Only Football Podcast with so much hope. You had just gotten Russ. Justin Fields was like his second year in the league and it's so much promise. And we were both like, yes. And then it just fizzled out after 2 years. And here we are now with both of our quarterbacks just doing great things in the preseason and
our
giving
video
us a lot
quality
of hope.
Matched our teams.
It's so true. It's so true. Like we are just levels above.
We were cooking.
We were cooking. We were cooking with fucking barely any oil. That's what we were cooking with.
Oh God. But you guys, as always, can follow me at NFL with Kyle. And you can follow Rick at And Now Rick. Rick is in his brand new house. This was his first episode ever from the den. The Den. And I think it was a good one. His first episode in the Den was breaking down Caleb Williams' first game. I told you they're connected.
Man. There's something about it.
There's something about it. There's something about it. I don't know if you saw I got this for my birthday. It was an autograph.
That's awesome.
Helmet. This is Dwayne Carswell. This was the tight end for the Broncos. I dated his daughter in middle school.
No way.
Yeah.
Kyle,
definitely you were in the middle of moving, but go watch the first 10 minutes of Monday's episode that I did while you're moving. I go through the story. It's a really great story. So I think you'll love it. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? How? I would answer all the questions, but I think it would be better if you watch the video.
I'm gonna go do that. And for all you guys watching right now, if you guys are enjoying this video, this live stream, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Twitch, X, follow us, hit that like, hit a share button, tell your friends, tell your family, tell strangers that you meet on the street about the Only Football Podcast. What'd you say?
Tell Jimmy Garoppolo.
Tell Jimmy G, since he's not going to be doing a lot of playing this season, to make sure to watch us during game day. But
Curry?
Thank you guys. Steph Curry, tell the Olympic gold medalist Steph Curry.
Did you see the end of that game?
Oh, dude, the end of that game was amazing. The Olympics in general are just awesome. I love big world sporting events like that.
The moment hit different when you're watching it live because you're invested. Like USA basketball, like I like the other sports too, but I'm definitely clearly most invested in USA basketball, just continuing their dominance of gold medals. That and like so many storylines, LeBron James's final Olympics probably ever. Kevin Durant. I mean, you look at that lineup and we're going to look back on this and be like, wait, Kevin Durant, LeBron James,
Steph Curry,
Anthony Davis, Steph Curry, even just like those four. I mean, you're going to be like, they were on the court at the same time. And it was a close game. And Steph Curry just drained 4 threes.
Yeah.
And they were back to back to back to back. And he was and it was awesome because as an American, I felt a lot of pride that's my country out there.
Yeah,
That's my country.
sick.
You can mess with us in a lot of things, but basketball, go to bed.
We
was
take the cake.
Yeah, and this was in London, and we were playing France, so it was like the crowd.
No, it was in France.
Oh yeah, it was in
Yeah.
France. Wait, what? Oh, Paris is what I mean.
Paris, yeah.
It was in Paris, yeah. So the crowd was going for France.
Clearly France.
Clearly
yeah,
going for France. And it was really like they were really scrappy, I'll say that. So I was really
100%.
happy when Steph Curry put that game away, but it was an amazing moment.
Yeah, that's when, like, I just love when the world competes in sports. Like the World Cup, I love watching soccer. That's really the only time I ever get into soccer is the World Cup. The Olympics, national championships, like that shit is just awesome and I love it so much. So, but yes, like Kyle said, go tell Steph Curry to follow this podcast and subscribe and watch us. Like Kyle said, go follow us on X as well. Follow our YouTube pages at Yo I'm Rick and at Kyle Kitzman. For Kyle, he's doing great stuff over at his YouTube channel. So go make sure and follow us. And like I said earlier, we're gonna get super chats up. We're gonna get memberships back up. We are going into season 3 of the Only Football Podcast, week 1. With a fucking bang.
Steph Curry here.
Yeah, with Steph Curry right here. So thank you guys again for joining us. And Kyle, always a good time, brother.
Always a good time.